Okay, I'm going to start my Hillside centennial moment with something I've never confessed to another living soul. I only started coming to church way back in 1997 because I realized I needed some good personal references on my SF-86. I had been working at MIT Lincoln Laboratory doing classified work for the Air Force for 3.5 years since I finished my PhD at the University of Michigan. And my security clearance form, called an SF-86, had to be updated every 4 years. All my college friends lived out of state, and I wasn't the most social of people, so I needed to find some good references soon. My life is not that interesting, I'm sorry. I was living in Somerville. I had always seen this big white church on Mass Avenue right down the street from the Porter Square T station. So a week after the April Fool's snowstorm of 1997, which dropped 2 feet of snow overnight in the Boston area, sound familiar? I went to my first worship service at North Prospect Union United Church of Christ. The service was led by Senior Pastor Reverend Dudley Rose, then Director of Admissions at Harvard Divinity School, and an assistant pastor who I was more than a little surprised to see was a woman. At the beginning of the service, a gaggle of wiggly kids were called to the front of the sanctuary for a very entertaining children's message, and then were sent downstairs for Sunday school. Having been raised as a Southern Baptist and spending my middle school years in small private Christian schools, the hymns and the liturgy were all very familiar to me. But I was very pleasantly surprised when we were all asked to stand, shake hands, and wish the peace of Christ to everyone around us, something I'd never done in a Baptist church. However, I was completely shocked, stunned even, when immediately before the sermon, a Bible passage was read in regular English from something called the New International Version Bible. What was this? Where were the thees, thous, and thines I had grown up with? And hey, was this even a Christian church? Honestly, I walked out of that service feeling a little spooked, but North Prospect Union was within walking distance of my apartment in Somerville, so it would have to do. I met a whole lot of church regulars over those first few years at NPUCC, some of whom were still here, like Secretary Emeritus Barbara McLean, Treasurer Emeritus Bob Seiler, Parish Nurse Kathleen Byerman, who I'm sure is online, and choir fixture Rebecca Ramsey. There are also a few favorites who have since moved away, like Kathy Knobloch, Christine Parsons, and Corey O'Brien. I joined the church council and learned that NPUCC wasn't just a church, but also a landlord to a nursery school during the week and a very lively Brazilian congregation on Sunday nights. But that great white elephant of a building was difficult to maintain, and so it was sold to Lesley University, and we all found a new home here in this beautiful 1920s building at the corner of North and Osgood Streets in Medford in 2006. It's been almost 29 years that I've been in this church, but a few instances stand out more than others. One watershed event that always stands in my mind was a sermon that Reverend Rose delivered in mid-2002 when he described how he felt sharing the name of Harry Potter's villainous cousin, Dudley Dursley. You must know that my own socio-political economic tendencies have always had me frowning on any kind of marketing to children. So in my mind, I was dead set against all this Harry Potter business when it started to become a worldwide phenomenon. But after hearing Dudley's sermon, I just knew I had to check these books out. I took the first 2 books in paperback with me on the next business trip, and I was hooked. Thereafter, every hardcover Hogwarts book was delivered to me at the very first opportunity by Amazon at 12:15 on a Saturday. Remember that, back in the day? Of course, the key life-altering event for me as a member of this church was starting the adoption process with the Department of Children and Families. This is where my original SF-86 strategy really paid off, because DCF was much more concerned than the Air Force with the character of potential adoptive parents. And I had some terrific character references in Reverend Rose and Secretary Barbara McLean. My son Sean came to live with me at 17 months old in August 2009, which may have been Tom's first or second year here as a student minister. Sean participated in his first pageant as a little shepherd boy the following Christmas, and has played a host of roles over the years, including the much sought-after camel whisperer who gets to spritz folks with lucky camel spittle as he comes down the aisle. He joined a new crop of Wiggly Sunday school kids, many of whom are now in college or finishing high school. My God, where did the time go? Like himself. Reverend Rose baptized Sean at age 8 in 2016 in this sanctuary. But I'm not sure if Sean has really accepted the whole God thing, in spite of the best efforts of myself, Reverend Tom, and Sunday school maven Jen McGinley. But I can tell you, he said a very audible amen at the end of our prayers the morning of the MCAS exams 2 years ago. Now that Sean is graduating this spring, I'm looking to retire from MIT Lincoln Laboratory this summer after 32 and a half years and move down to Delaware to be close to my parents and my brother and his family. But this church will always remain the biggest part of my heart from my time in Massachusetts. So for those of you who are new to Hillside, new to church going, new to Christianity, or new to God in general, let me give you this testimonial. What makes Hillside a very real spiritual home away from home to me is that no matter how the faces change, young, old, new, or just passing through, every single person always seems like someone I've known all my life, full of kindness, tolerance, and concern for the larger community and the larger world around us. And may the peace of Christ be with you all forevermore.